All right, I am recording. And the
Okay.
output will be in 1440p.
I guess I should start now. I don't know if anyone else is gonna get here, so I think it's fine.
Actually, let me double check. Okay, my mic's good, and you want to just say something real quick?
Test.
Yep, that is. I'll lower you a little bit, but one more time.
Testing.
All right, higher, and then I'm just going to mute sounds. There we go.
It's good now?
Yeah, have at it.
Okay. I'll just wait for the people to get here more, because they just announced in the chat.
And I assume that we'll just be like saying like questions we can like discuss more freely. Right?
Oh, yeah, this is gonna be like an interactive thing, so if anytime you have questions or stuff like that, you can just say stuff, because it's not on a strict schedule or something like that.
I don't know if I want to do my speech for the third time today, but if I do, it's probably going to be later. I want to take my shower in between.
Alright. Okay, I'm gonna start in 30 seconds. Hello.
We seem to have visitors.
Hi.
True.
I also see that my cactus armor has been getting around. That's been nice.
I'm wearing it now.
I've been meaning just to slowly have it spread around the con. Also nice, we have like a smaller amount of people. Very stable.
Yeah, it seems good to start. Okay. Hello everyone. I am Asikek. Hello. I am the lead developer and creator of a mod called Perpale, and also QCraft, but that's not on the mods. That's not on this server anymore. We have to remove it from the con, unfortunately.
Oh hey,
And
I talked with you sometime.
Here.
Yes.
That's from your mod, right?
Yes, it is. Perpale block. Yeah.
Woo!
There's just like
It's
structure
purple.
void.
Yeah, there's structure
It
voids
is
there.
purple. I don't even know those do. But today I'm going to talk about making engaging and interesting mod progression. I think we all know that making like super overpowered stuff is pretty easy. Like, not a lot of thought needs to be put into it. You make stuff overpowered by making it like easy to use and also like maybe doing a lot of damage or stuff like that. Just, you know the gist of it. You've probably all made like sharpness 9,000 swords before. It's just like that. It's pretty simple.
Yeah.
But, and it's okay that some mods aren't concerned with balancing and stuff like that, and just concerned with making stuff OP. Because that's just, you know, it's fun. Yeah, it's fun. It really is fun. And I can think of an example of like a mod that's good, you know, but is not like concerned with balancing stuff. You guys have heard of Draconic Evolution, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
From
I
you?
mean, like that mod is overpowered for the sake of it, and that's fine because it's cool. It's really cool. So yeah, not every mod has to be completely balanced, but I think it's important for most mods to consider this balance because as developers, we have to like work with Minecraft's game design and we have to build off it. And integrating things with Minecraft's game design is going to help with continuity between the game itself and our mod and player experience as a whole. And I want to share something. So, my mod for Pale started as basically a netherite plus, right? There's diamond in the overworld, netherite in the nether, and perpale in the end, which is, this has been done before. Like, this is a tried thing. I just wanted this as a fun project. Like, I think there's one called enderite, and there's one called endium, which, so, yeah, this has been
Kyanite.
done before.
My old
But-
mod.
There's also witherite.
This kyanite too.
True witherite.
My
But
old
isn't
mod.
witherite like netherite better?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
but also in the nether.
But it's, yeah.
So yeah,
Isn't this witherite? I think I gave someone witherite during one of
Yeah.
the Sky Wars matches.
it's gonna be in Ref Magic.
Really?
Yeah, it's moving from one of my mods to another.
Wait, how did I not remember that? That was already part of the thing when I saw it. Oh, continue. My fault.
Okay, so I started Propel because I kind of wanted a break from like hardcore, super designy stuff. Like, I made QCraft Reimagined. Uh, what does that sound?
Is that...
Click clack.
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
Sorry about that. I'm doing a little thing. Just ignore me.
just mute
It's hard to
yourself
ignore.
if you are making that noise.
Okay, thank you. So QCraft was extremely painful to make. That's just kind of how it is with those kind of mods. I had a terrible time making it, and I resent it to this day. But I finished it because I wanted to get it out, and that's left a sour taste in my mouth for Minecraft modding. So to remedy that, I wanted to make a simple mod that I could have fun making. Right? I didn't need to care about any balancing. Didn't need to care if it was an original idea or if it's been made before. Didn't need to care about the art. Right? This is kind of unrelated, but I made all the art myself, as programmer art, which has been changed now. I'll get onto that. But even if I did a tried and true mod idea, and even if I actually added some system that was pretty unique to it, which I'm going to mention later, I wanted to stick with it because I didn't, for some reason, I just wanted to make a mod that was original. And maybe that's just like a flaw of mine where everything I have to make is like perfect. I'm a perfectionist or something like that. I probably am a perfectionist, but I stuck with it, and here we are. And I've learned a lot from my progression in making progression as a Minecraft modder, and I want to share a little about the pitfalls you can avoid while making a good, balanced and progressing Minecraft mod.
Yeah.
So, the first pitfall I want to mention is collecting stuff for the sake of it. And I'm pretty sure you all know this. It's the grind. It's infamous. We all know about the grind.
Grind just means more
Grind for
playtime.
3 weeks straight, get
Yep.
bored of the game.
It's some people like it, and I respect the people who like it, but I don't like it. It's only engaging because of the prospect of a reward at the end. And that's not good progression.
You good?
And
Sleepy? You good? do you want someone to talk to? Uh, we
I'm here for emotional support as well if you need it. So, I want to talk about a mod pack that I tried called Omnifactory. I do not like Omnifactory. It is just endless grind, microcrafting, and what's the reward? Like quests, right? You complete quests. And some people find that fun because there's a reward at the end. But that's the only thing you do. You microcraft stuff. You're clicking in the inventory. Maybe you go out, right? Okay, thank you so much. We're talking about the grind here.
it was only fitting.
So, you maybe go out sometimes. Maybe you make, like, in the early game, you don't make any factories. But you do make factories in the mid game and end game. But still, it's just too grindy. Omnifactory is the definition of grind. And I'll be honest, Minecraft's crafting system doesn't make that a whole lot better. But it begs the question. These are rewards, but for what? Like, what are these rewards for? We're getting rewards, and we get that sweet dopamine from those rewards, but for what? And it's not really, in Omnifactory at least, it doesn't really go towards much. So that's one thing you should avoid. Don't make players collect stuff just to collect stuff. Make them collect stuff for a reason. And we'll get onto that reason in a bit. So, another pitfall that you want to avoid is to not make the challenge getting the item itself. You want to make the challenge using the item to complete something else, right? Like advancements, right? If you make the advancement getting an item and then that's the end of the advancement tree. Let's say you have a chest plate or a sword or something that you get the sword and then you get advancement and then that's the end of the advanced tree. That's the end of the advanced tree, and you're wondering like, what do I do with this now? It's a good sword, but why did I get it? I got it and it was, I collected it, sure, but what's the purpose? You want your progression to have a purpose. And so one of the things you can do to make an actual challenge is have a boss fight. And I know it's making a boss fight is pretty hard. Yeah, but exactly like Botania. And I'll mention Botania again. So I know making a boss fight is hard, but there's alternatives, and I'll mention them. But I want to talk about boss fights for a bit. And to be honest, the Ender Dragon is not a good boss fight. Maybe you'll disagree with me, but
Yeah,
you can
it is a horrible boss fight.
honestly, like, it doesn't require a lot to do. I honestly argue that Wither is actually a better boss fight because you can do the Ender Dragon with like maybe iron armor, maybe a diamond sword.
The Warden is honestly a good boss fight, even though it wasn't meant to be one.
That's true. And in both ways, whether you're trying to tackle it like with like an actual combat or trying to just move around it, that's a good boss
Yeah.
fight, I would say.
So
And boss fight doesn't actually have to be killing the thing. You could a warden as an example, like avoiding it is a good challenge.
so
Yes, Phil?
this thing right here is a bad boss fight.
It is a bad boss fight. And
Will you be using my
Yeah, you
DMs
can-
as examples?
yeah,
Yes, let's
yeah.
go.
So this talk is basically based off of Soul's and I's DMs.
Yes.
So, yeah, as I was saying, you can basically go into the End's boss fight, Ender Dragon, with just iron armor, maybe a diamond sword, unenchanted probably, maybe like protection 1, and maybe
with speedruns, you go without any armor. And
True,
at
true,
most an
yeah.
Iron sword.
and I've never seen speedrunners try and do that with like the Wither. So I was gonna say maybe normally you would have to have like maybe 2 stacks of arrows or something like that, maybe snowballs for the pillars and stuff. But think about it, like the goal of Minecraft, right, is to get to the end. Like that's the end game progression. That's the overall actual goal of the game, even though the real game doesn't end there. But the end of the game makes you go to the end, and for a pitiful challenge that you can use mid-game gear to get, don't you think it should require like some sort of diamond gear? Like not require like a lock and key, but like an actual challenge, maybe making diamond a lot more useful in the end. Maybe should actually use that instead, like an actual challenge, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes.
consider this: for a boss fight, especially at the end of the game, you want it to be nearly impossible without your gear, without your endgame gear. So have you guys played Breath of the Wild?
Yeah.
I played it like
Yeah,
once,
I
kinda.
play it a lot. I like it. It's really good. And the boss
Well,
fights too.
For
They're very
Xander,
rewarding.
you can basically go to the end of the game and fight Ganon immediately, which is the main villain. But it's almost like incredibly. It's so hard to do that. I mean, there's people who have done it, but it's really difficult to do. And maybe like getting out of like the main area, like the central area, takes about an hour. Going to the castle, maybe getting to Ganon takes about 45 minutes. So theoretically, if the fight takes like another 30 minutes, you could beat Breath of the Wild in like 2 hours and 15 minutes or something like that. But obviously, that's not fun, and the devs made it that way on purpose because they know it's not fun. They know that the players who try to actually go to the boss fight have the option to, but most like they'll realize that they're missing out. 5 minutes, that's really good. So, be like Breath of the Wild here. Make your boss fight, if you have one, impossible, or nearly impossible, not impossible, like nearly, without your endgame gear. But how do you do this?
Seats are turning straight.
The seats. Oh no.
What? No.
Who would do this?
Why are this?
Training space.
I
This
will
is
not
like
have
a
straight
training
seats in my
space.
stage.
ain't no way. This is why we should have used dyed seats.
Turning the seat straight.
Hold on.
The seats should not be straight. This is heresy.
We only support pride seats. You know what?
So, as you can imagine, if you in Breath of the
Thank you,
Wild
Una.
didn't have the option to go to the end of the game immediately, it would be a lot less interesting for those who have played it, because they give you a choice, but they don't necessarily lock you out of it, right? They provide a goal at the end of the game with seemingly multiple ways of approaching it, but there's one good way of approaching it. I want you to imagine this. So, there's like a lock on a boss fight, and the armor is a key. You don't want that, because it gives the players the feeling that they only got the key to open the lock. You want the
Draconic
players-
evolution.
Yeah, I was mentioning Draconic Evolution, but I'll mention how it's actually good in this case in a bit. So if you make the key's sole purpose to open the lock, you'll make the players think that they only got the key to open the lock. And in reality, you want, I don't know how would you like make an analogy for this, but you want the gear, your reward, to be an active participant in the boss fight. You want it to be an active participant in the challenge.
You want there to be stuff behind the lock rather than just opening the lock.
Sure, yeah, and then it feels less like a key and more like a puzzle, right? Something like that.
Yeah.
So, one of the things you can do to remedy both of these pitfalls is make the item active, functioning member of progression. And so, let's talk about vanilla armor for a bit. All the armor in Minecraft is pretty passive. It's not like you do much with it while you have it on your body, right? It just kind of negates damage, and that's all it does. That's not what you want your gear to be, because especially in the end, because you don't notice it half the time. And if you don't notice it and you have it required, even if you have it so that you present the player with a choice like Breath of the Wild does, then it still feels like a key. So you've missed that in that regard. So I guess you kind of want to make the reward in the short term completing the challenge by allowing the player to do more with the gear you provide. And so I'll take an example from
Wait.
Sol and I's conversation.
Wait.
Actually, you want?
I'm
do
giving you
wanna-
that item. I'm giving you that item. Purely so it can help
If-
you with your
Do
thing.
you remember our conversation?
Yes, I
'Cause you can actually say this. If you want to.
so you brought up the idea of, well, you and I kind of brought up the idea of a theoretical boss fight which used like platforms, for instance. And I'll take the stage. So we were talking in DMs before this about a theoretical boss fight which would use, say, what was it? Oh yeah, platforms. So like parkour, and that would usually be kind of achievable, but like, say it's like, say it's like 5 blocks or 6 blocks out, kind of hard to do. Kind of have to build. But say you could get a set of armor that has an ability that allows you to jump over there or boost or whatever. That would be better than just invulnerability against that boss. That's kind of what we talked about.
Yeah, because that makes an actual active progression, like active member of the boss fight, rather than just something like passive, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of what I'm talking about here. And as a closing point to this sub-point, I'm going to mention Draconic Evolution one more time. I think that the Chaos Guardian is actually a good boss fight, because it doesn't require you to have the Wyvern or Draconic armor. And, I mean, it kind of, like, nearly does, because it's almost impossible to beat it without it. But it heavily encourages you to do it, and it makes it not just the weapons and the armor, but the tools an active part of the boss fight. And so that's why I think Draconic Evolution is good and bad. But we don't have it on this loader, so.
Also, what's the command to like do size again?
Scale.
Alright, thank you.
So I hope those points were insightful. I encourage you to try and make a endgame progression mod like I have. And I'll tell you where my mod is today. It's still
Look behind
basically it's still basically like it was before in terms of progression. Like you get this armor sets. I mean, you get these armor sets,
It's supposed to be a person
and
recording.
there is like an active ability on them, but it's still pretty much passive. My mod is per pale, and there's a system on per pale items that lets you add attributes to them with a dynamic crafting system called warpaths. So if I, for example, use the warpath greater potential on my per pale boots here, it's gonna give me 3 extra jumps, and I'll give that to you, Priscilla, to demonstrate.
Wait, do you have...
Give me a sec.
I will demonstrate this gladly. Can I...
Okay.
Can
I just used the.
After you're done with this, can I go on a tangent about what... about how to do this the wrong way?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I've done...
almost on my presentation, anyways.
Alright, so... Oop, oh, I'm in creative mode.
You shouldn't turn off creative mode.
Boom, boom, boom.
But you might see how this could lead to our example, right? Requiring you to have this like triple jump ability to
Hold on.
to win the boss fight with the platforms.
Could have like...
So in a way, I've kind of made an active participating item here, which lets the player choose what upgrades they want on their person. But it's still largely kind of OP for the sake of it, and I'm trying to remedy that, I promise. But I hope that was insightful. True.
I'm here to give the actual example full.
This small player is the boss fight. And I hope, I really encourage you to try out some endgame progression sometime, because it's a worthwhile experience and I've learned a lot. Thank you for your time.
I am the boss fight. I trapdoor you.
Finally!
That was pretty good, right, Soul?
Yeah, that was really good.
Thank you.
Now, I'm going to go on a little bit of a related little speech. So, my first mod was my first full mod by myself was a small mod that I now refuse to touch because I consider it cursed. A mod by the name of Kyanite. You can find it on CurseForge and Modern still. It's stuck on 1.16. And it basically added a set of armor that was like, it had special attributes on them, so, you know, entity attributes. And you could basically like go around, craft special stuff. However, it was everything that you should not do, according to ASCII. So, first off, it was a horrible, messy grindfest. The ore in of itself was decently rare, okay? And from that, you had to get either 4 or 5 of the ore to make a refined version of the ore. Another, like, 5 of that to make augmentations, and some augmentations required 5 more augmentations, and it was just a lot of 5s. And one other thing was the armor had to craft it in of itself. And as I mentioned earlier, it was a rare material. Now, it's been a while since I did the calculations, but if I remember correctly, my calculations for it we're roughly around like a couple thousand ores to get a full set of like the top gear. And I don't know about you guys. You guys probably think that's not that's not really good.
That is a lot.
Yeah. And it
True.
was. It was very, very grind heavy.
Did you test it in survival?
You see, the thing was, I put it in the end, so I assumed, well, the player's end game, so, you know, they should be able to do that.
Yeah, just like
Yeah.
15,000 ores. Yeah,
Yeah,
easy.
yeah.
What's going on?
Oh, I'm doing a, improv.
But okay, obviously. but
Impromptu
improv what?
after,
Oh, like improv comedy.
no, not improv
Improv
comedy.
panel.
Look at the
Can I
thing.
sit-
This is a
sit down and
panel.
listen?
Well,
This
it's
is
kind of funny.
Interesting.
It is funny, but is a
Well, yeah.
is a panel
and-
successor to what Assy just did.
An improv. Yeah, no, I got it.
Yeah.
An improv panel.
Yes,
We're
yes.
all doing improv panels.
We
like
should-
that's kind of the whole thing, right?
We were just doing like a speech on
Actually, when we finish,
endgame progression stuff.
Yeah. So
when you finish the music thing you're doing, we should hold like a concert and just play it through these speakers.
maybe.
Oh,
Anyways,
that'd actually be perfect.
as I was
Right?
as I was trying to do. So beside ignoring that, the actual like ores had no real ability besides the fact that they had boosted attributes. And to my credit, I kinda didn't really know how to do anything besides that. In fact, I didn't code it with any mix-ins. I explicitly remember I extended the class file for armor items and just threw all my attributes in there just to like make it work because I thought that would be fine. And nowadays I'd probably do it a little bit differently, but you know. Yeah, so it was basically just very, very powerful, like very stupidly overpowered art items. And so I thought, yeah, this is good. This is okay. So I kept on releasing updates, and there was eventually some stuff happening to it. I'm not going to go too in depth. Basically, in short, I named it something that I didn't realize what the connotations of that name were. It was very similar to a certain word, and I didn't know about that word until after the mod had been downloaded a good amount of times. Maybe. I didn't even know that word was a thing. I'm gonna be
Wait.
real.
What word?
I'm
I
not
don't
going to
even-
say it. I'm not going to say it. It is not something.
The Jewish slur. Do not say it.
Do not
please.
say it. I
Ooh,
did.
that one.
I didn't know
Yeah.
it had a very similar name. I didn't know that was a word.
What was the real name that you were trying to say?
I don't necessarily, because in pronunciation I even had it there. I didn't realize until it was far too late. One of my regrets of that mod was that, but yeah, bad situation. If I'm going to return to the mod again, like saved it even in that last update. Like I made sure it just was wiped. Even though like, you know, yeah, but and that's a different topic for a different day. On just naming your things correctly. But
I mean, to be fair, you didn't really know.
I didn't know, but I probably could have done a little bit more research.
Yeah,
But
I don't know.
that's
I mean, I wouldn't hold it against you if it was a slur against something that, like, or if it was close to a slur against something that, like, I am.
again, I
Like I would understand if you kind of like did a oh shit, I'm sorry, I didn't know.
Yeah,
and fixed
and
it,
I
like,
I don't
which I imagine is the response you got.
that's roughly I had to like I didn't know what I was doing. I was gonna try like put in a data fixer. I had plans, but like in the end, I just re-released a version, and that version ended up being like one of my last ones of it. It just that mod just had problems. But besides all that, back on the topic of bouncing, the mod itself, the mod and it's my idea. I just try to distance myself from that. Yeah. Anyways, back on the topic of bouncing, it was horribly unbalanced. I had very rare ores that had basically weren't that unique, and they were everything that you should not do with an armor. And maybe I'll do a port of the actual renamed version to whatever Blanketcon 2 will be, just to demonstrate what was wrong with it. Anyways,
What's the new mod name?
Kyanite. It's stuck on 1.16 because I'm too lazy to update it, and it's too cursed.
I have a mod stuck on 1.17, so don't feel too bad.
Yeah, but I also Star Vexia also asked me to update it, and that was like a year ago, and I haven't.
Good presentation.
Thank you. It was no script.
Applause.
It was purely just spur of the moment. Thank you.
That was a funny story as well.
I mean, I imagine